Thank you for joining us. We are talking about parenting children in the African context. This interaction is inspired by my book, Parenting Trailblazers, which was written not so long ago, and some of you have had access to it, but some of you haven't. So in case you haven't interacted with the book, it is Parenting Trailblazers by yours truly, Eddie Ivan Kaweela. And so I want to say welcome to our interaction here. We already shared the introduction on parenting the last time, and we covered some of the highlights that we'll be giving in the book, including focusing on their health, including focusing on resilience, and including establishing the sense of community. We're just about to go into chapter 1 of the book, but there's still some aspects in the introduction that I would like us to focus on and really talk a little bit more regarding parenting. And so I'm going to be reading some of that continuation here and then come back with the interaction that we are having. Now more than ever, African parents need to recognize the urgency of equipping their children with the mindset, skills, and courage to become responsible citizens of both their communities and the global ecosystem. Yet, we must ask, how can we raise a generation of Africans who are globally aware, culturally proud, and intellectually equipped when we ourselves are consumed by urgent pursuits alone? That's a very big question. When we start talking about being effective parents and raising children for the next generation who are going to help Africa go to the next level, it's easier said than done. The reality is we live in a very busy life. The very children that we are trying to equip for the future are the ones who are actually keeping us on the streets. Very busy, because we need to make sure that we get money for their feeding, we get money for their beddings, we get money for their clothes. And quite importantly, we get money for their very, sometimes expensive schooling, formal schooling. So the truth is, parents do not have all that time to meaningfully interact with their children, because there's always urgent pursuits that require the parents' attention. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, I think the fact that we chose to bring these children here on earth meant and means to now that we are responsible for their holistic growth, not just for the clothes or the school fees that we are able to give to them. And that we do very good, and thank you very much. We have to remember that our calling to the children is far greater, far higher than just the school fees that we actually give the children. So, how can we grow responsible, innovative, and ethical leaders who are going to transform our community when we ourselves have neglected to responsibly steward our own resources? We have also neglected to responsibly steward our own environment and our own values. Why is this second question a big question? The second question presupposes that here is an imperfect human being, the parent, who is being asked to be a perfect and excellent parent. And we're saying that that's almost impossible. We are not only broken as individuals, but we live in a very broken society. And the ultimate synergy of the mood and the psyche in our community really affects us, and it's not always very positive. There's a lot of selfishness, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of carelessness in terms of how we support the children, where we are not really intent on bringing them right. The culture is not really about helping children prepare for tomorrow. The culture is really about us looking good before others now, instead of actually us ensuring that whatever we do, it doesn't just make us look good before others now, but it's actually the right thing that is going to help the children be better. Secondly, we may never ourselves have been given the moral grounding or the ethical grounding or even the skills of parenting. So we actually do not know much. We may not know any better. And I think that's why we're having this interaction here, that since I am not an expert parent, neither are you an expert parent, and we all are making mistakes. What are those things that we can start thinking through and talking about? Not as a lecture, to each other, but really as aspects that we can ponder on and go away and see how we can contextualize them in our unique homes, in our unique home settings. And so I write here and say that even as imperfect adults with a steady commitment to intentional parenting, taking small positive steps and embracing accountability, we can raise our children in a way that aligns their upbringing with the needs of the continent. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have it all together, but we can slowly but surely take small steps because we love our continent very much, because we love our children very much, and because we are believing that they are the ones who are going to take us to the next level of good leadership and global leadership. We must intentionally pause and see how we can learn to invest in them well. Parenting today is no longer just about meeting a child's basic needs. It's about shaping the African child to become a beacon of hope, progress, and change for the future. That is it, friends. We have a history where we have not been performing well. We have let ourselves down as a people. We have been manipulated as a people. Why? Because our leaders didn't know much. Our leaders were never equipped to actually lead our continent and lead each other, not only to fend off manipulators and exploiters, but to even treat ourselves well and work out programs and strategies that actually promote us to the next level of innovation, the next level of infrastructure growth, the next level of dignified living. Okay, so that really is what we're talking about. These children are the ones who we must intentionally invest in, and when we do not intentionally invest in them, we are not building any future. We are basically just living for today, and that's it. Just living for today, and that's it. So we can no longer afford to be vague about the specifics of this mandate. Parenting. We cannot be vague around what exactly is required in parenting, who I call a trailblazer, in parenting holistically, helping these children become the best that God made them to be. In case you did not watch the introduction to this series, I said very clearly that I'm going to be not only focusing on Africa, but as a Christian man, I'll be using a lot of Christian worldview aspects in sometimes commenting on the things that I'm going to be commenting on. So I hope you understand that, so that you don't feel that I've lured you into some philosophical, spiritual ideology or philosophy that you actually do not subscribe to. I'm a Christian man. I'm a practicing Christian, saved by grace in Jesus Christ, by Jesus Christ, not by what I did, but because he had mercy on me and forgive me. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is going to come from that redemptive approach to analyzing parenting and Africa's challenges. A key question we must consider is, Why are we focusing on the role of parents rather than other persons or institutions in shaping the children of Africa for a prosperous future? This question is foundational in understanding how Africa can achieve sustained prosperity and global influence. Various institutions, and indeed many institutions, contribute to the child's development in our community. The government, schools, the church, and other entities really are working hard to ensure that the child is helped. For example, many of our governments are ensuring that we have the right laws that protect the child from abusive adults or even abusive circumstances. So the government is doing good there. Religious institutions like the church always teach about loving children. For example, Christianity teaches that unless we think like a child, have the mindset of a child, the humility of a child, we cannot see the kingdom of heaven. And so the schools are teaching our children to be good citizens. Yet we know that none of those institutions really fundamentally impact and touch the child the way the parent does touch the child. The parent has got not only deeply invested interests in the child, but the child tends to have such a deep connection with the parent that they most likely the parent will be more influential to the child than just any other person trying to interact with the child. The home and the parent is emphasized here because the home and the parent, the father, the mother, the guardian, these are the primary teachers for the child. And I think that's the whole point. There is no other person or institution that gets in touch with the child first to impact them and solidify their understanding of life other than the home or the parent or the people in the home. And why is this critical? It's critical because normally the first one who interacts with someone is very critical, and they're normally very impactful. And the fact that we, the parents, have got the privilege to be the number one source of learning, of interaction with the child, makes it primary. But there are also other reasons why focusing on the parent and parenting to help Africa develop the best leaders for tomorrow is critical. Number two is because in Africa, we still have a lot of impact on the children from cultural importation point of view. Africa is still very largely and richly enriched with beautiful cultures. And it is the parent who has been there, saying what is expected of a child in line with the child's unique cultural contexts, that now actually imparts those values into the child. Remember, contrary to a lot of talk, the African culture and the various African cultures and traditions have a lot of good that if we actually give the child opportunity when they're still young to experience these cultural aspects of community, for example, that you are not an individual, you belong to a people. If we start early to teach children our cultural aspects of honor for those in authority and respect for others, what an opportunity that is. So not only are we emphasizing parenting because the parents are the primary first teachers in the home, but also because we have some beautiful cultural aspects that schools are not going to give to the kids. Schools in Africa, like you have seen, love to represent totally different cultural orientations, foreign cultural orientations, as if there's no good in our own cultures. And that's why you, dear parent, if we are going to prepare the African child and bestow on them the values that we believe are needed for the new Africa, but also for their leadership into the new world, you are well placed. No one is better placed like you to support the child. So that's aspect number one. But the parents are also critical in the child's life from a very psychological point of view. And there's some research that I found here, and I put it in the book. And I write and say that parental involvement significantly impacts a child's cognitive and emotional development in some very serious ways. John Bowlby's attachment theory highlights the importance of early relationships between children and caregivers with, he says, secure attachments nurturing confidence and resilience. So Bowlby thinks that when the child has been exposed to some quality attachments in the home, they will be nurtured to be more resilient and to be more confident. Have you seen children today who really just have no resilience? They give up so easily, literally at everything that happens to them. If they face some hardship in class, if they face some hardship as they play around with their friends, they retire to themselves. They coil into themselves and never have any eagerness to fight back and return. So Bowlby seems to tell us that confidence to believe and that resilience to bounce back when things are hard is normally built when the child is young and finding those critical attachments with the person next to them, a caregiver, a parent, or a guardian who is involved in their lives early. So when you as a parent give birth to your child and run off to make money to give them school fees and you are never around, yes, they're going to grow, their bodies are going to grow, but their resilience is not going to grow because they will have no attachment in any way. Their confidence is not going to grow. And Bowlby is not the only one who talks about that. Research by Ross Thompson further reveals that early attachments influence brain development, particularly emotional regulation and stress responses, preparing children to face life's challenges. Now it gets even deeper, that even on the aspect of brain development, when the child does not have critical early attachments, high quality early attachments with some people that they hold dear, the child is not going to develop brain-wise as they should. And especially from the emotional aspect point of view. That's why, as adults, you see that boss who is always throwing tantrums to their direct reports. You see that parent who is always yelling at the top of their voice because they never probably had that emotional build, that emotional construct with someone close to them when they were starting their human life here on earth. And that's why even from a research scientific point of view, we are insisting we must be engaged with the children as early as possible. Now, am I saying it's easy? As I already said, no, it's not easy, but it's what's going to help our children. This business of giving birth to children and we run off to make money for them, to support them, has to find a balance. We must find a balance of ensuring that we stay engaged with the children when they are still little, when they are still young, when they are still infants. In Africa, parents continue to have a significant influence on cultural values. I've already highlighted that. Social economic status, education, and moral guidance of the children. According to UNESCO and various cultural and social economic researchers such as Patricia Greenfield, Lisa Suzuki, Matthew Sanders, and Karen Turner, It's generally the parents, more than any other person or institution, who are naturally positioned to transmit values to children through shared experiences. They also emphasize the fundamental role parents play in shaping academic outcomes through active involvement and in guiding ethical reasoning, essential qualities for future leaders. Essential qualities for future leaders. So there's no running away from the truth, not just from a research perspective, not just from a culture perspective. Generally, the parents have to be engaged in the life of the child from the word go. From the word go. Now, I know many of you parents, you've already seen your children go through, or they're about to leave you. They're in high school and they're about to leave your home to go off to college, or just to start independent life. So maybe you feel you have missed that opportunity, but there are many other parents who are even watching now who recognize that they have a great opportunity to actually do things slightly differently by creating time, creating moments of engagement and attachment with the children. Moments of engagement, moments of attachment, quality life with the child. And what a beautiful Africa we will have when, based on the research that we've highlighted, we've engaged with the little children, and of course we grow with them, and now we have a product of confident, emotionally stable, resilient leaders who are going to help our continent move on to the next level of influence. So as I conclude here, I will say that for Africa to achieve sustained prosperity, parents must intentionally shape their children's cognitive, emotional, and cultural and moral development. And we say that by nurturing resilience and ethical growth, parents lay the foundation for future leaders capable of driving Africa's global influence and long-term success. So we are counting on you to be available in the life of children. I would not be saying these things if I don't believe in them or if I do not do them. Now, of course, there are many things I've not succeeded in, but one thing I understood quite early was, as much as possible, be involved with the children right from the time they are young, and start to interact with them, start to engage them meaningfully, engage them meaningfully. I don't know whether we already described it, but maybe we did not. But when we talk about parents, if you're just engaging, we really are not talking about just the biological parents. And I think that's critical for us to contextualize in this discussion, even in other broadcasts. When we're talking about parenting, we are talking about you who finds yourself responsible for the upbringing of a child. You might be a grandmother, a grandfather, you might be an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, you might be a big brother, a big sister, or you could be the real biological parent. But you're responsible for the well-being and the nurturing of this child. You're the parent. You're the parent, and what you're doing is parenting. And so we are discussing how can we parent trailblazers, and that word is really a synonym for things like a person who is innovative, confident, and creating new good, new good to humanity, a trailblazer. How can we create leaders, good leaders, great leaders through our parenting and our interaction with our children? That's the emphasis that we are making here. So when we interact again, we will be starting off with chapter 1 of the book Parenting Trailblazers, and chapter 1 will be essentially opening us with what we call the essential foundations for nurturing trailblazers. And there will be several aspects that we'll be talking about, and we shall start with one that calls us to start focusing on nurturing and shaping the heart of the child. So that's in our next interaction. Thank you for joining us here on this discussion on parenting trailblazers. Please click the like button, like the program. Also make sure that you subscribe to the channel in case you haven't subscribed to the channel. And because we're going to be continuing with more discussions on good parenting, effective parenting, tell somebody about it. Share the video so that we together grow. Specifically, grow our parenting skills, improve our parenting skills for the purpose of creating a generation of great leaders for Africa in the next 15 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 25 years. That's what we're doing here on Parenting Trailblazers. That's our mission, and we are happy that you have joined us. Remember, get yourself a copy of Parenting Trailblazers online wherever books are sold. You can get a print-on-demand one or even an audio copy or an ebook. God bless you. Love you very much.